Well, this is another Matchbox wonder. They really did seem to move away from the standard stuff and go for some of the more unusual ones. I think that might be why I'm buying a lot of them at the moment. And this is an unusual plane, another interwar jobby. Look at the wingspan. I'm going to talk about wingspan a lot with this one. Just admire it. Experimental, going for long distance records, all of that kind of thing. I'll check the dates. Oh, look, there we are. 1938 they were getting up to stuff with these. And it's quite an early aircraft for some of the achievements it had. It first flew in 1935 and it joined the RAF, what, 2 years later, 37ish. So it's a little bit before the war, but really quite a modern design and construction, which is really rather smart. Three colours, that doesn't matter really, does it? Whoops, I knocked one. And two noses, which means I'm going to have to buy another one of these at some point. And the usual British black underside. And those weird things are panniers for bombs. And there's the markings with the... I love the little footprints that go along the wing. And here we are, painted up. There's one nose. Ooh! You can tell that's the one I'm going to do because it's got a little man in it. And then I've got the other one. There it is. There's the other nose, bit blunter. Can't do it one-handed. So by magic, there it is. So yes, obvious one which I'm going to use. And then the wings. They're only pushed on, not glued. Two little guys fitted in, and there we go. Take in that wingspan. Engines on. Fabulous. Looks quite mean now. Yeah, those weird kind of float things under the wing are bomb panniers. They were experimenting with the body type and they didn't want to risk putting a hole in it. That's a part I can't find any use for. Don't know where it goes. But yeah, the body is unusual. It's that that style. There's the panniers and the part and the engine cowling that didn't fit very well. And there's the huge wingspan again. And you can see the body structure. That will. Oh, and you can see the Lysander that I was working on. But getting back to the body eventually, and the wings, geodesic. It's geodetic, not geodesic. The minute I said it, I knew I'd said the wrong thing, which is a Barnes-Wallis thing, and they went on to use it on the Wellington very successfully. So this is a bit of a precursor. Now here we are with the markings on. There's those lovely little footprints. I don't know if it's Matchbox transfers or just because they're old, but they seem a bit thick, a little opaque, and look, I left it overnight and that happened, which is a great disappointment. Meanwhile, then I put a varnish on it and that happened. Trouble is, because I got the varnish out, I did it on the Lysander too. We'll come back to the Lysander, as I said. And then I put it on a German one. It's a Heinkel float plane. Seaplane yet again. Look, and I wasn't even doing the brush strokes in that direction on that wing. So I do not know what went wrong. Is it something in the brush? Is it that I didn't mix up the varnish well enough? Or is it like dust on the wings? It can't be. They keep getting put away and everything. So eventually I had to do a bit of a repaint, not a complete one. Which did mean that some of the opacity on the markings I could paint through. Well, it's another dismal day, but the birds seem to be tweeting a lot. Don't know what they like about it. Anyway, here's an aeroplane. In the long run, this is a really interesting aircraft. First of all, that geodetic thing meant it was very strong. And I think it was the first aircraft that could lift at least 1.5 times its own weight, which is really quite remarkable. So I took a further look into this aircraft, all kinds of other interesting little bits and pieces. It was the only RAF aircraft to operate during an 18-month campaign in East Africa against the Italians. So that's in East Africa. That's very interesting stuff. Its world record long distance thing, it did 7,158.5 miles, although some people say it was 1,757.5 miles, which was achieved in 1938 when 3 of them flew from Ismailia to Darwin. I think one of them had to drop out and there was bad weather and all the usual. But the record was held until 1945, after the Second World War, when a Boeing B-29, I'm reading this bit, a Boeing B-29 beat it on its 3rd attempt. This little book is usually very technical and all about engines and things like that. But when it's talking about the Wellesley, it breaks into almost poetic language, not quite. So I'm going to read a section from it. It says as follows: by any standards, the Wellesley was a remarkable aeroplane. By any standards, the Wellesley was a remarkable aeroplane. Most aircraft designers did not, at least in the early 1930s, normally think of long-range bombers in terms of elegant, single-engine monoplanes with enclosed cockpits, cantilever wings and fully retractable landing gear. But 2 men at least did, Barnes Wallis and Rex Pearson, whose ideas stemmed from the constructional methods used by Vickers to build the airship R100. Now that is unusual for this book, and that shows what a great aircraft this was. I really like this aircraft. It's superb. And it's a very good model, actually. I think Matchbox have done it justice. Not sure that I have, as usual. Get your hands on one of these models and have fun making it. I think this is number 2 of a 3-part series, don't you? We started off with the Handley Page Hayford, now this, next the Wellington. You know, I think Revell make that Heinkel, don't they? It's a nice looking aircraft. Might have to see if I can get my hands on one of those. I know the joke's worn off, but look what happened. And the wing came off. It got repaired, you wouldn't know the difference.